Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. Why are cities, not even major cities, just cities in general, failing? You've probably seen the story about New York, and the thing is, it wasn't just the one woman that everyone is talking about now. A couple days ago, there was a 14, 15-year-old girl riding the subway, and some guy walked up to her and slashed her face, took a knife to her face. Apparently, no instigation, no conversation beforehand, just picked her out of the crowd and decided to do that. Now we've got the more recent one where a woman who was apparently sleeping on the subway was set ablaze. And I'm learning more about it. Like, I've tried doing this video once already, and just in between takes, turns out that there's a person on the video who is using a jacket or something, and in my opinion, it looked like an idiot who didn't know how to put out a fire, like smothering it. They're taking it and they're fanning the flames. And while this is happening, a cop walks by. So what is happening? It's a idealistic mental illness is how I will put it. I've seen it. It's been going on for a while. So when I lived in Kalamazoo, and this has been going on since before 2020. 2020 was when the mental illness showed its face to everyone, and you either went along with it or that was when you were just like, I'm out. There's no way. Like, this is crazy. This can't go on anymore. So prior to 2020, we had an intersection by our house. It was about 2 blocks out, and there was a bus station there at the bottom of this hill on Park Street. Very busy intersection. The city considered it the gateway to downtown Kalamazoo. And whether it was somebody's job and they didn't do their job, or this job was not assigned to anybody, or it was budget cuts, or I don't even care at this point. But for some reason, they decided that it was okay to let the trash cans at the bus stop not get picked up. Nobody was emptying the trash cans. Like, it just wasn't happening. And there was a big piece of property behind the bus station, an empty lot, just grass. And I know that it was either the city's property or they were at least in charge of taking care of it and maintaining it, because a lawn crew would come out with the giant zero-turn mowers and they would just mow the grass. Keep in mind, they didn't pick up the trash. They would just mow the grass. That looked really cool. So finally, I got fed up with it. It was not something that I wanted my kids to grow up seeing all the time. Like, this is not acceptable. Like, there is no reason why the city is not maintaining itself. Like, what the hell are they doing with our property tax money? Like, what is going on here? They're constantly upping the millage for the buses, if this is part of the bus metro situation. So I started going out there with a wagon, and I bring my daughter with me, And I would go around with those extended gripper things, and I'd start picking up trash, either putting it in boxes or throwing it in trash bags, and I would haul it back to the house and I would put it in the trash to be picked up. Like, yeah, I was paying money to not just pick up my own trash, but the trash that the city was responsible for. Because that's what happens when society starts to break down, is you have to start taking matters into your own hands. Like Daniel Penny. We see how that went. They prosecuted that guy. Nobody wants to help stand up or defend innocent people anymore because all of a sudden they're the bad guy. And now we've got the girl with the slash face. We have the other one that was set on fire on the subway. Even the cops are not stepping in. So one thing I noticed was when I was picking up the trash, people I knew saw me. And it wasn't like, oh, wow, he's actually doing something about that. That looked horrible. No. Like, one of them was my boss at one of my jobs at the time. And I go into work and I start doing my cleaning thing that I did for his business. And he comes to me and he's like, hey, me and some other people, we saw you over at that intersection, and like you're picking up all the stuff around there. And he said a few other things. I could tell what he was getting at. Like, did I have a DUI? Was this part of my community service? And I just flat out said to him, I was like, I got tired of it looking like shit. Like, it's not acceptable. Like, I don't understand why people want to live in garbage. And nobody wants to do anything about it. It's always somebody else's job. Always. So what's the cop's excuse? The one that walked by when this thing was happening to this woman. Was that somebody else's job? Oh, paramedics should take care of it? Like, he doesn't have to take off his coat and try to put the fire out? Is that the thing that's happening now? So moving to 2020, and that's just one of many things that happened to me when I was trying to make things better there. They don't want to make the city better. They won't even hear your ideas about making things better. What they want is they want to come up with it themselves, or you give them the idea. They take credit for it if they think it's a good enough idea, something that will help promote them. Then they'll do it. But if there's nothing in it for anybody who's in charge, forget about it. The other thing, so 2020 happens, and that was just an entire year of horrible policies and decision making. And to this day, I don't know who let the inmates start running Arkham Asylum. That's really what started happening. And the thing is, Kalamazoo is a city, it was founded on two things: a state mental hospital and pharmaceuticals. So yeah, just by itself, there is a ton of crazy there. So in 2020, and actually 2019, we had a situation where Gavin McInnes came to town. I think maybe it was just a stop. It wasn't like an actual trip. He wasn't making a speech or anything. Him and a friend, a couple of other guys, stopped at Bell's to have a beer, as people do. It's a business, right? But no, one of the patrons decided it was not acceptable for somebody to come in, have a beer, spend their money, and and leave peacefully without anybody harassing them. And this hit the news, And Bells said that they didn't condone the person confronting Gavin at the table, but they also said that they do not condone hate speech, wherever the hell that means. Like, I've heard of a lot of like what Gavin McInnes has to say. I don't remember any hate speech. Really, all the guy says is, Western culture's pretty cool. Heaven forbid you say that. But then 2020 happens. And we had two big events that happened in the city with completely opposite reactions. We had the BLM riots, looting, and arson. All of that happened. I can still find the video of the looting happened in the stores downtown. You can still find my video where I'm downtown with my youngest daughter, looking at all the destruction and damage. People are still cleaning up after everything that happened. But no, the city said that the police had to stand down and that it was their constitutional right under the First Amendment for free speech. Apparently, looting, arson, and rioting is now considered free speech. But then, like a month or two later, keep in mind, 2020 was one of those years where you had like a decade of stuff happening in like a matter of a week. So I might be off of my timetable. But the Proud Boys came into town. And all they did was they parked their cars and they gathered at one spot and they marched from one side of downtown into Bronson Park and they had their flags. Well, before they even started, you had people confronting them. One was trying to steal a flag. Another person used pepper spray on the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys started to defend themselves because this is assault and battery that is happening, plus attempted theft. Of course, the cops weren't there. And even with the video, which I've watched the entire video from start to finish, right? And at no point did any member of the Proud Boys instigate anything happening. And actually, towards the end, the cops had to start going after is it anti-protesters? I don't know. The people who were protesting the Proud Boys, let's put it that way. They had to start going after them because they were taking rocks and throwing it at their vehicles as these people are trying to leave town. Like, you don't want them there, but then you're preventing them from leaving. So make up your mind. So now you've got destruction of private property, and the cops are like, can't be doing this. Well, then the police chief, which was a woman at the time, I don't remember her name, she got into a bunch of trouble. And the city commissioners came after her and said, we can't believe that you allowed this hate group to come into our town and do this after everything that we've been struggling with through our BLM protest. And she ended up being forced to resign. So you've got looting, rioting, and arson, that's free speech, but then you've got a bunch of people who primarily, as their reputation states, they walk around, they wave flags, they say some things, usually they get together afterwards and have a beer somewhere, and then they go home because they all have jobs and responsibilities. But those people aren't allowed to do anything because boo-hoo, hurt feelings. Meanwhile, the city didn't really give a crap when it came to the businesses that went under, and their policies put a lot of businesses under, by the way, due to COVID and all of that garbage. So this illness has been going on, and it's continuing here in Michigan. Like currently, they're pushing, I think they might have actually passed it. We had servers and waiters in the state that have been protesting this new bill, getting rid of tips and replacing it with minimum wage. Now the state is upping the minimum wage. I think it's going up to like 12 something an hour, something ridiculous. But that means that the restaurants have to pay these people outright from the profits that they're making. And of course, the state, which doesn't understand business at all, doesn't realize, or at least they don't give a crap. And personally, I think that they're actually trying to close down small mom and pop shop businesses that rely on servers and waiters and bartenders. Because the margins are usually about 10-15% profit per meal, which barely covers the cooks, the dishwasher, the servers. I mean, you got to pay these people to make your product to serve to the customer. And then you got to have enough profit to actually go back into the ownership of the restaurant, right? Plus the cost of all the ingredients. And the real upkick is if you were to get a liquor license, because that's where your profit is, because you have stuff brought in, you crack it open and you place it on the table. You get a lot of money for the least amount of work. The money is not in the food, the money is in serving alcohol. But no, if you're going from $2 an hour that the restaurants are paying these people to about 12, a lot of these places are just going to close the doors. I would say a good majority of these places are just going to close their doors. You're not going to have a restaurant to go out to eat to anymore. But it's to help people. No, you're just making people unemployed, is what's happening. These servers are no longer going to have a job. They're probably, a lot of them, if they have money saved up, are going to move out of the state to find work elsewhere. So good job. You just lost your tax revenue from your restaurants. You lost your tax revenue from people living in your state who are working and being employed there. All for the sake of helping people who didn't ask for your help. So, why are cities failing? It's failing because of stuff like this. They don't take care of the things that they're actually responsible for while focusing on things they have no business looking at. And they're always trying to up revenue, but at the same time, they're not using the revenue where it's supposed to be going anyways. Lord knows they don't fix the damn roads. They can't keep the buses going half the time. 2020, good luck getting a cop to show up to your house if something is happening. You had to be a damn lawyer on the phone with 911 to get anybody to show up, because their first question is, well, are they committing a felony? Well, lady, if I knew that, isn't that up to the prosecuting attorney after you arrest them for what they're doing now? So anyways, this has been going on for a while, and it's not just Kalamazoo, it's not just New York, it's everywhere. This mental illness, this ideological brain disease that is happening is everywhere. And it just, sometimes you have to remove a cancer, right? And even after you do that, you still got to do chemo. And hopefully you can get rid of all of it. But that's what we're dealing with here, is basically a cancer in these cities where the ideology of the people who are running things takes precedence over what their actual job is. How about before you look at my lawn and whether or not I've mowed in the last week, You actually look at the property you're responsible for, pick up the trash before you mow. That's something I should have done. I should have just stopped my garbage pickup, dumped all my trash in my front lawn, and just mowed over it. See if I still got a fine. So, that's about it for me today. This is why our cities are failing. Keep on typing.